Hello, my name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network, Woman of Inspiration Awards, and this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast, where we speak with women who lead, inspire, and motivate. Now, I have a really cool guest today on our podcast, and let me just tell you about our guest. So I have in the studio today, Tatiana Calderon. How did I do with the pronunciation? Did I do it right?
Hi, Monica, that was perfect.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna share with the guests. We had a little bit of chit chat in the green room, and I say I love talking to women in underrepresented industries. And you are a woman in the field of motorsports. So Tatiana is a woman who breaks the mold. At the age of just 9, she found her passion in the world of motorsport and decided to adopt it as her lifestyle and pursue a professional career as a race driver. Now, you grew up in Colombia, Tatiana. So how does a girl growing up in Colombia break in to race car driving and then actually drive in the Formula One doing test cars? So welcome, and I know we've got lots to talk about, so let's dig in.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation and to be able to share with women that want to empower the next generation, that want to create opportunities for us is incredible. So yeah, I sometimes ask myself, how did I end up watching the TV with 9 years, wanting to do motorsport? I started in a rental go-kart track near my house in Bogota, in Colombia, because my sister Paula, she took me there. She's like 8 years older than me. And I loved the speed, the adrenaline. So we were going there every day after school. And then we convinced our parents to buy us a go-kart. It was by the time that we had a Colombian racing driver reaching Formula One, which was the highest level of motorsports. I've always been very competitive. And I saw one of his races and I thought, I want to be, I want to be there. Now, obviously, when we started, we were the only girls racing against all the boys, because this is one of the only sports where we compete in equal terms. So there's no like a separate league for female drivers. We are there against the big boys, and then it was my passion. I decided I wanted to be a race car driver since I was 9 years old. Then it took a little bit of convincing to do, to show the people that I was in for the big leagues. And then I had to move to first to the US, then to Europe, to pursue that dream of becoming or testing a Formula One car. That was one of my dreams, and I've been lucky enough and had the support of a lot of people to get there. But it shows that when you want something, you work hard for it, you're patient, things can become true. So be careful with what you wish for.
Oh, dream big is my motto. I'm just like the sky is the limit. Let's just, put it out there what we want to achieve and go for it. So let's, 9 years old, a girl at 9 saying, I want to be a race car driver, mom and dad. What was that for them? Like, I mean, did they jump in right away with both feet and go, yeah, you can do that? Did you have like full on support? Because I think that's where it starts, is it starts with your family, right? It starts with them saying, you know what, you can be anything that you want. There are no barriers for you. And so your parents fully supported you on that 100%. Do you want to talk about that? And let's dive in a little bit there.
Yeah, I've been so lucky to, my parents, they always they encourage sport in our house a lot. I have a younger brother as well. So every time that we were trying something, it was the two of us. So for me, it was like, okay, if a boy, my brother can do it, I can do it too. And it was and vice versa for him. So I think it all comes from that education. Obviously, when I told my parents like I want to be a Formula One driver, they were like, okay, let's see how long this takes for her to realize that that maybe is a little bit crazy. But they were always supportive, and they were like, okay, if you don't do well at school, there's no more racing. So I was like one of the best at school. Because of that, I was like, okay, I want to show them how much I want this. So they started quickly to understand that, to give me like the possibilities to not only racing in Colombia, because one thing is winning in like your home country, but then when you go and compete in the United States or in Europe, and I did well there, it was like, okay, maybe she's got some talent, and and she wants to do this professionally. So it was a hard decision for them, because I didn't went to university. I After I graduated from school, I immersed in this 100% racing environment, and they were sort of brave enough to let me try and be a professional racing driver. So I'm so lucky, because my parents have always supported me. Now my sister, she's my manager. So we take every decision together as a family, and of course with support from other people. But it's been like a dream, like a family dream. So I'm extremely happy and grateful that I've been in this journey with them together.
Love your story so much. And when you talk about immersing yourself into making that decision, because there's some aha moments in your life where you could have chose to go to school, get your degree, but you specifically said, I'm going to jump in and immerse myself into race car driving. And so I guess I have one question for you. Is that's the fork in the road that a lot of people are up against? Do I take the right or do I take the left? And so your intuition was telling you very strongly, if I don't go in 100%, I'm probably not going to achieve my goal. Is that accurate, or is that the mindset you're in?
Exactly. I was like thinking to myself, like, I don't want to have any regrets. What if I had just give it 100% of my time and dedicated myself to be the best I can be? And we discussed that with my parents, and it was like, okay, let's give ourselves 3 4 years. If not, I know I can go back to university, but I want to give this a real shot, and see how far I can come, and challenge myself. And of course, it's a big risk. Sometimes you're like, why did I what have I done, right? And you have your doubt moments, but I think when you find your passion, it's like, even like the difficult moments, you overcome easier than if you are doing something that you don't like to do in life, or you haven't found exactly what you're meant to do in this world. So for me, it was like, okay, I have their permission. I've worked hard to get it, and I'm gonna give it my best to see how far I come. Sometimes you don't know if you're gonna have all the ingredients to make it, but at least you're giving it all you have.
And I couldn't agree anymore. Like, I mean, failure is really part of success, right? And you don't know what you don't know, so go for it. And what is the worst that can happen is not doing something and living with that regret afterwards, going, what if? So I think that for our listeners, that's, something that we all come up against when we're making big decisions, big life decisions, just like you've made. And obviously you chose the right road. So, immersing yourself in saying, I'm going to be a race car driver. What kind of steps, because there is no manual, like there's no car manual for, hello, I'm going to be a race car driver. There's no school course that you can take for race car drivers, or is there? What sort of path did you take to actually bring that to reality?
Yeah, so there's a couple, like you do like a little school in karting, so that you can get a license and you can compete like in a more professional way in the nationals, let's call it, for example, in Colombia, and I think it's the same in the US and in Europe. You get that license, and then you start traveling and you start exploring all the tracks that are around all the countries. Then when you want to do that jump from karting to race cars, there's another couple of courses. Like in the US, there's this Skip Barber racing school. So some little you learn the basics, and then you go. But there's like you said, there's no manual. Particularly, you know, I've found that with women, because we in Formula One, there has not been any female driver like competing in Formula One in over 50 years. And there's not much data from us, from what do we need in a car, because, you know, we have different measurements, we think differently, we feel different, we have a period, we have to train in a different way, and there's no data because there has not been that many females coming up the ranks. So how do people know how to deal with women, you know, when you're looking for tenths of a second in a race car, because the stopwatch is everything to us. In order for you to be able to compete in equal terms, you gotta be given the same tools, but those tools are not built for you. So there's been a lot of like kind of challenges to overcome for me, because I have been like the first in many things, or in many categories I have raced. And then you get is a try, and maybe was not the way. I modify certain things, and I found light is this way. So I also learned through that journey that we are all different, and people tend to try and limit what you can do, and you should only focus on yourself, on what you think you're capable of, on working towards solving problems, and not just look at the problem and panic. But it's been a real journey to discover that all the differences between male and female, and how we can actually surprise some people at the end, if we believe in ourselves.
Well, like I said before, I think I think we're really at a cusp of, and I say this a lot about inspiring change, where there's opportunities. Whenever I hear low numbers for women, the first thing that I can think of is go, there's opportunities. Like I just see all like the glasses overflowing, like overfull with opportunities for women in underrepresented industries. But it's going to take leaders like yourself that are pioneering those paths and talking about it, like platforms like this, about how do you do it. And so I'm really excited to learn more, by the way. And what, like you said, I mean, I don't even think about it, but the car has to feel differently for a woman rather than a man. Like our bodies are different, how we even have the strap in for the seatbelt. We've got breasts, you know, like how do you move? Like, is it uncomfortable for you as a race car driver with that? Like, I don't know how you strap it. Isn't it like is it like a harness?
Yeah, we have like two belts that go through the
Through
one that
your
comes up.
breast, but it's got to be like at that speed, you got to be like in pain, right? So there has to be maybe a breast shield made.
There should be they should be thinking about this stuff, right? But they're not, because also maybe we haven't raised the boys, because we haven't had that many women. And sometimes, you know, in my career, like looking back, so many times I was like, I'm not gonna complain, I'm not gonna say anything, because then they're gonna start treating me differently, and then they're gonna blame that it's the girl complaining about something that men don't even care. But I started to realize, if I don't say the issues, if I don't raise my voice, nothing's gonna change, and we're not gonna get more women into this sport, because there are some barriers. Like for them, they're invisible, but for us, we have our nature. We cannot change certain things. We cannot change our bodies or our hormonal system or the way we think, but we can adapt a lot of things to make those fit better for us and therefore be able to perform at the same level as they're performing. But we cannot do that with the same tools they are because we are different. So I realized a lot, like the last couple of years probably, about that, and that's why I wanted to raise the voice, because I want to see more women coming up the ranks, showing what we can do in when we're giving the right tools. But it's been hard. I'm not gonna lie, because there's a lot of doubts that, if I do this change, would that really make the difference? And so far it has made it, and I was able to perform at the level that I thought I had in me. But yeah, the belt is one example. The I don't know if you find that sometimes when we drive like normal road cars, you see a lot of women like very close to the steering wheel, and it's because when they reach the pedals, they're too close forward to the wheel. So the design even of the cars are made with male measurements. And that aggregates more when like you're going 200 miles an hour and you're not sitting comfortably. You're not going to go to the limit of the car, which is what we're supposed to do. So it's been a journey about discovering, changing, and finding a way to prove the world in a way wrong, and to show that we can do a very good job in motorsports and hopefully inspire more girls to start.
Well, I think opportunities like we're just talking about right now, here's an opportunity that you can say, you know what, the seat belts as a woman don't fit me. The steering wheel is not designed for a woman. And, these are opportunities for manufacturers to jump on board. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I've been watching the Netflix F1 series. So I'm being educated a little bit along the way. And so I'm learning, and it's really, really interesting. But the cars themselves, they are actually built from scratch, are they not? So there is opportunity that is like, we're not talking that this is a far off dream. It's just like when you get a sponsor that understands that they are driving change, women driving change, and they're able to impact, probably open up the motorsport for so many other women, you would think that they would be lining up to be a part of that.
Yeah, and you know what? I thought so too. I haven't found the reason why they haven't come up and say, "Oh, here we go. We're gonna change this, and we want to get more women." And there's one, like, a lot of people say a lot of things that maybe they don't believe in, and sometimes I have the feeling that, I've driven a Formula One car. I've proven that I was really competitive when they made everything for me, like the seat was, I've never felt so comfortable in a car until I tested in Formula One. And even some of the engineers were like, well, this girl can drive. She's doing really good times. But then it never went into a race seat, or that next opportunity didn't came. I don't know if it's because, when you drive, when you watch Drive to Survive and you see how little women appear. I've been there, and I know there's like some fantastic women already working in Formula One as engineers, mechanics, PRs. There was even a team principal that was woman too, actually. One of them gave me my opportunity to join the team first.
So let's talk about that. I know that we talked about that in the green room, and please let's mark that to come back and talk about that, because I think that women opening up the door and the opportunity to pave the way for other women is really critical, as much as having our male support hers along the way. So do you want to talk about that a little bit? And then we're going to dive into some of our supporting. You have a couple other really big champions that have helped you on your way, and I really would love to share those stories with the listeners today. So let's start with that principle that enabled and opened up the door for you to actually enter into the Formula One arena.
Yeah, it was incredible. Her name was Monica Calderon, and she was team principal in Sauber back then. Then it became Alfa Romeo Racing, but she gave me my first opportunity to be a development driver for the team, and then I spent the next like 4 or 5 years with them. But it took that she believed in me and gave me that opportunity to show what I could do. So I've felt like, when we work together towards a common goal to make the table bigger and not just fight for one place in the table as women, if we support each other, of course, like we need men that support us in this journey, because I believe you can see like the world in two different sides, and we complement each other, so we need each other. But it's just that giving us that opportunity for me has been crucial, to have women supporting me and giving me those opportunities. Then it's up to you to take or to make the most out of those. So that was Monisha for me. Then I had a really difficult moment in my career in 2022, where I was racing in the United States in IndyCar, and unfortunately, the main sponsor of the team um, failed to pay. So my contract was canceled. It was halfway through the season, so I end up with no ride. And then my sister, who's my manager, she started to contact everybody. She knew someone from the music industry, and then couple of days later, Karol G, she's Colombian, she's all about empowering women. She reached out and said, you know what, I want to support you to keep racing. So the idea was to show a lot of companies that a woman from Colombia, Latina, supporting another one to fulfill her dreams. So I went to compete in Formula 2 in 2022 thanks to her. She has a foundation to empower women that it's called Concora. And since 2022, we've been working together. So they've been supporting me, and it's been an incredible journey that I never thought, the music industry, where she was also like a pioneer, would then match with my career. Her sister is her manager, my sister is my manager, so it's like all about women empowerment, and we hope that this can inspire more of this type of collaboration as well.
Well, I just looked on her Instagram, Karol G, KAROLG on Instagram, 68.7 million followers. OMG. So I was asking about the songs. Don't Be Shy is one of her only English songs. The rest of her songs are in Spanish. But super great. And she's done work with Shakira, like rock star, like pioneer women that you have supporting you. How does that feel to be so supported like that?
Oh, it's incredible. Sometimes I ask myself, how did I ended up here? Yeah, I thank my lucky stars, but also the hard work, and it's incredible. When you can feel how much they work together as a team. She has a lot of like female supporters and female that are working with her in this industry. You see the parallels and all the barriers that she's been working towards to open up for more women. It's incredible. So to send that message, sometimes we only look at like the trophies, like as a way to look at results, but it's just participating, just creating awareness, just making sure that you have a legacy and you can help the next generation is already a big win. So I'm extremely thankful and grateful to have met them and to be able to keep sending that message to the world.
And so if I stand correct, is the Formula One in 2022 that Karol G helped you break into? So was that your first Formula One race?
No, I did the Formula 2.
Okay,
when
Formula
she
2.
started. So it was, I raced in Formula 2 in 2019, but I came back in 2022, thanks to her support. So I was gonna be back home crying if it wasn't for her. She believed in me, and she gave me the chance to be back racing. I've been the only female driver who has done Formula 2 so
Mm.
far in history. So yeah, hopefully there'll be more, and that, of course, I want to reach Formula 1 has always been my dream, but I feel like IndyCar is where I had the most fun. They're very respectful and about women drivers. So I want to be in a place where people want me to succeed, and I have felt that in IndyCar. So hopefully, with her support, we can go back racing and do the famous Indy 500 race one day.
How incredible is that? And so, we talked about that in the green room a little bit about, so I said, what's your big dream? Like, what do you want to achieve? And you're like, so let's just talk about that big dream and some of the women that inspire you to dream big.
Yeah, so of course, like Formula One is the top of the ladder in motorsport. So if I ever get a chance, it would be great. But I have had an amazing time in the 6 races I did in IndyCar, and I wanna, I was when I was growing up, Danica Patrick won an IndyCar race, and she led the Indy 500, and I think that opened a lot of possibilities, and you have sometimes to see it to believe it. So she was a big inspiration, and I think I wanna have a chance to go back to IndyCar, and have the support of more women in the industry.
Well, that's just fantastic. I love Danica Patrick, and I hope that she gets to listen to this podcast because we're going to shout her out and say, thank you for paving the road for so many women and inspiring women. And maybe she'd be up for a mentorship program to mentor you a little bit. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Just throwing it out there. And, so for the listeners, I just want to do a little bit of a timeline for you because since 2005, you were the first woman and the national karting title and the Easy Kart Pre-Junior Championship. So that was when you were 9. Okay. 2006, you win another junior title in Colombia. Then 2007. So you did something consistently every single year. 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 winning podiums and the first women to score a podium in the British Formula 3, 2013, 2014, the victory. What is the victory?
That was in a series called the Florida Winter Series, where Max Verstappen was competing, like Lance Stroll, some of the current F1 drivers. So I've raced a lot of them throughout my career.
And that was with Ferrari Driving Academy. So you've driven Ferraris, Alfa Romeos, like what's your favorite car to drive?
Um, it depends who contracts you, right? No,
Right,
kidding.
all of them. All of them is the right answer.
That's true.
They were all my favorite cars.
4 wheels and an engine, and you got me excited. So
4
that's my
wheels,
favorite.
an engine, and sponsorship. And
Exactly.
let me
That's my
go
combo.
show you what I can do. Right? Go, girl, go. Super
Exactly.
exciting.
That's the only thing I ask for.
And so you've also traveled around the world. Like Colombia, you're back in Spain. You and I are talking. There's a time difference going on right now. I'm in Canada, you're in Spain, and you've also raced in Japan for the Super Formula. So tell us a little bit about where else your racing journey has taken you.
Oh, I've been so fortunate because I've raced all around the world. So like you said, in Japan, in New Zealand, in even like karting in Egypt, all around Europe, um, South America, Mexico, the US, so all around the world really, and it's been so great to experience like all the way that people have to, like the communication, the way they work, like, coming from Latin America, I was first in a German team, and they were very serious, and I was like, I want some jokes and smiles, and I managed to change them a little bit into my way. But yeah, just in Japan, some of them, they didn't even speak English, so it was, it's been a lot of fun, a lot of challenges, and different cultures. So yeah, very grateful to be able to do what I love all around the world.
So cool. It even took you to Egypt. That's fascinating. And, all that traveling is a whole lot of money. So I really hope that you are fully supported and that the road is clear for you to continue paving because it's so important. And I have a couple of questions. I mean, you seem very positive and really energized, and you're very focused on your goals. How do you get over top of the no's? You must receive some no's along the way, and that's not any different from a woman carving her path or as an entrepreneur building her business. I know. But how do you handle those rejections or the no's, especially in an industry that doesn't, where, you're like, it's harder to break into. You're the new everything. How do you handle that?
Yes, I don't know why. Always like when somebody told me no, I was like, I'm gonna prove you that it can be a yes. So I always would I always find a way to make it work. Like if it was performance, then if they say, oh no, maybe you have to go more to the gym because you're not physically fit enough, or whatever reason they start to try and bring you down. I was like, okay, I'm gonna kill myself in the gym. I'm gonna find a solution. I'm gonna modify the seat, I'm gonna modify the pedal. And then it all came back to me like with performance. So it was like, okay, they're trying to stop me or to put a limit to what they think I can do, but what matters is what I think I can do. So I think every time I get a no, it's like, okay, I'm gonna work harder for what I want, and I wanna focus on myself, and I'm gonna prove that I can do it, prove it to myself first. I think that's the most important validation that you need. But it's just, instead of seeing it as a negative, it's an opportunity to grow. I feel like that's the way you gotta look at all those problems or all those no's.
No in my world means not right now. No is
I'll
just a
write them
not
down.
right now, not a no forever. Doesn't mean that the door is closed. It's usually a not right now because you actually don't know the full reason. It's really helpful that they've actually shared with you a little about why not now, because that has actually probably improved your performance at some level. So I know that we're kind of nearing our time here, and I want to be respectful for our time. I could talk to you all day long, but I do have a couple more questions. Number one is, I want to talk about, you were talking about weight lifting and about your body conditioning and stuff like that. So, it's not just strapping into a car. Like, what sort of, mind, body, soul do you have to put into this behind the scenes before you even get behind the wheel of such a powerful machine that drives 200 miles an hour? By the way, is that your top speed?
I think yes.
Pretty fast.
It does feel fast sometimes, but yeah, it's a really good question. So of course, like, first physically, right? Because like to drive one of those cars, like just to break from 200 miles an hour to 50 in like 25 meters, your neck needs to resist like more than 40 kilos. Otherwise you'll hit your head with the steering wheel because of the forces. So there's the stress level that you manage because you're multitasking all the time you're driving one of those cars, because you go 200 miles an hour, somebody's talking to you on the radio, you have a million buttons that you need to be switching through the laps that you're doing, while you want to beat another 20 guys that are sharks and want to get your position, right? So it's a lot of multitasking. So we do a lot of cognitive training just to be able to drive those cars. And obviously there's like a confidence and emotional side of things, very important as well. If you're not confident, you're not going to be able to push to the limit, and you're driving the car, but there's another 30 or 50 engineers looking at what you're doing in a car live, and you got to communicate to these people how to make the car go faster or how to adapt the car for your driving style. So you got to combine all these areas, just to be able to show up on a racetrack. And you sometimes there's is a very frustrating sport because you only control what you do, but you have like the engineers, the other drivers, a pit stop with the mechanics. If they're too slow one day, you lose the race, and you may be a very good driver, right? You're not able to show the true potential of that. So you have to live with a lot of adapt to a lot of frustration, let's say.
So one word comes to mind, and okay, so two. One is grit. Uh, but I mean, you said you had to adapt so quickly, and it's true. Um, like I'm sitting here kind of going, I love this conversation because you're actually sharing so much more than we've ever seen on even the Netflix film, what goes into it. And so, you might be, the other word I want to say is discipline. That was the word I was searching for, by the way, is you have to be so insanely disciplined. So let's talk about the discipline that is required to do the job that you're doing.
Yeah, so a lot, like, you only see like the driver onboard videos, for example, and it looks easy from there, but you've done all these preparation into the race. You do a lot of simulator work. You discuss with your engineers about the strategy for even each corner. So there's a lot like of behind the scenes work that it doesn't really get shown to the world because it's a little bit like secrets that you don't want to share with your competition, because we are all just looking for details for hundreds of a second.
Mm.
That's the difference in our sport. So there's a lot of that preparation. Besides that, like, you travel around the world, so you have to deal with jet lag. It's not only the car, but there's a human being driving those cars, right? So we are, some days are good days, some days you need more of a push, or so that has also, you need to take that into account. But yeah, it's a lot of preparation, um, not only from the driver, but people don't realize how much like the mechanics train for a pit stop that lasts 2.5 seconds.
Mm.
You don't know how tough it is to get one of those wheels into a car, and to just be brave enough to sit there and hoping not for the driver to run you over. So all that, it's just a huge team, but sometimes people just look at the driver, but there's so much work that goes behind.
Everyone plays a role. And when I was watching the Netflix series, they have the tire covers on the car tires. And then I'm like, oh my God, who wants that job to all of a sudden, boom, you got to get those all off together in sync in order to get that car out of the gate. Is that what you call it? The gate? Do you call it the gate?
The
Pit.
pits
The
are,
pit,
yeah.
out of the pit. I mean, it's insane how orchestrated and how much teamwork needs to happen to actually make that car or that driver successful. So it's truly fascinating. And thank you for sharing so much about that with us. I want to, sort of wrap up our Woman of Inspiration podcast. And by the way, you are a woman of inspiration. Like, I'm just in awe of your story. With support her. Now, of course, we are inviting men to the conversation. It's a very, very big piece of the Universal Women's Network is our male allies and what we coin as our support hers. So you're in a male dominated industry. The mentors, because you're like, how many, we talked about this. So there are 9 women in the USA out of 300 race car drivers. So it's completely male dominated. So Number one, who are some of your male support hers in the racing world, and who are they sort of in your other world that have sort of helped you on your journey?
Yeah, so I'm currently racing in IMSA, which is like endurance races. Teammates with two other women, Catherine Legg and Sheena Monk, and of course, like all our engineers. They're big supporters. Our families, our sponsors that really wanna kind of change. Like they're all like also male and men trying to push us forward and to show, well, if you give these girls a good package, they can do really well. So I think it just takes that voice to voice sometimes as well, for us to connect and have supporters from, since like driver coaches that have really helped me, um a lot of like people that I've raced against, and they're male, and they're like, you deserve a good chance because you can drive. So I think it's just about sending that voice, that voice to voice, and creating opportunities for women to prove that we can do it, but with all the tools that are needed, particularly in the sport, to be able to show what we can do.
And what about personally some of the support her champions that you've had in your world? So you've got your professional race car driving motorsport world, which would be the sponsors and the companies that are actually advancing and truly want to see women succeeding in the sport. But what about the male supporters behind the scenes in your world? Who would some of those allies be?
Um, since like mechanics and like the people that run the series that we race, the engineers, the team principals, they really believe in us, because we wouldn't be racing like all around America this year, if they didn't think we were good enough. So yeah, I want to thank all those people that have really helped us reach this, hopefully a great goal, to also to promote more women in the sport, because like we mentioned, I think there is like there's a balance, and we need both of our capabilities to be better. So yeah, a lot of men that I have to thank to have in my life, and to thank them.
Awesome. And I truly do believe together we are stronger as well. Everybody does play a role to support her. And I know that we have an International Support Her Day, by the way. So we have to bring in some of those allies. And it's like take one small action to champion for a woman to succeed. It doesn't matter what that action is, everybody can do it. That's the cool part. On the first Friday in June every year, International Support Her Day. So maybe we can get all those people involved and help move the needle like across the board, right? So not just motorsports, but all industries and in all areas, all sectors for women. So of course, we have the Women of Inspiration Awards coming up next week. And so getting ready to celebrate the achievements of women who lead, inspire, motivate. So why is it so important to celebrate the achievements of women, Tatiana?
I think, every time I hear some very inspirational like stories from women, you're like, well, if she did it, why can't I? Even if it's different industries, you get inspiration from all those stories, and the drive to continue to push towards equity. So I feel like it's very important. Everybody has its challenges, and to be able to share it with a community, with everybody. You never know what word and what story can change someone's life. So hopefully there'll be more and more stories of inspiration to be able to get recharged, and to go pursue our dreams.
Well, I always say when you celebrate one woman, you celebrate all women. And I really am thankful for our conversation today because I think it really does provide an opportunity and hope and inspiration for other women to get involved, because it's a truly exciting career. Lots of so many opportunities to travel the world, but also to it's a strength. Like it takes it's like flying a helicopter. You've got your hands on doing you got to be multitaskers, right? And I think women are actually great at multitasking. Not that we should all the time, but we are really good at doing more than one thing and getting them done. So I appreciate the conversation today. Super exciting to watch you continue your journey. We want to be there with you along the way as well. But I've got two last questions. One is more like a rapid fire, but self-care. What's one self-care routine every single day that sets you up for success?
I like I love my like coffee time. That's like, okay, you cannot rush me. My coffee, it's where I have like where I set up my goals for the day, where I relax and where I think how grateful I am to be where I am. So that's one of the things I love doing, my morning coffee.
Beautiful. And I just want to end with this one. This is the Woman of Inspiration podcast. So, Tatiana, what is your definition of a woman of inspiration?
My well, that's I think women that do work for their dreams no matter what. I think if you wake up and you want to be better and achieve your dreams, then no matter what that dream is, I think everybody should be should support this and be grateful to have that.
Beautiful. Well, you are everything like that. You dream big and you've gone for it. So if I have a mirror, I probably turn around so that you're actually looking at yourself, because you are a woman of inspiration and you're surrounded by such really awesome people supporting you on your journey. So I'm happy that we were able to talk about them as well, because it's really important that we as women help support other women to succeed. It's integral. So thank you so much, Tatiana Calderon, and for joining us on the Woman of Inspiration podcast. How can people find out more about you, follow your journey, and for those that are listening, share widely? And if you have a sponsorship or can help Tatiana on her journey, please do reach out to her. Let's see her, make that Formula One, that IndyCar spot a reality. So how can they learn more about you, Tatiana?
First, thanks so much for sharing this story. And it was great to be able to chat to another great inspirational woman like you. I am in all the social media channels. So in Instagram as Tata Calde 7, on Twitter, Tata Calde, and also LinkedIn. So yeah, I'm there. Any message you want to send out, I'll be um, hoping to read a lot of good messages there.
Amazing. Well, we are going to blast this one out as soon as we possibly can, get it out there on the Woman of Inspiration podcast. And I would love actually to grab your trio of girls and have another follow up and have one, of the three of you on a podcast together talking about, women in sport and the career paths and whatnot. I think that'd be super powerful. So thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an awesome podcast. And for the listeners, I really hope that you enjoyed our podcast today. It's a Women Inspiration podcast. And I've always said, if you lead, inspire, motivate, this is what we want to do. Share this podcast widely with your network and share it with the women that you want to inspire, and also those male supporters. So thank you so much for joining us. Any last words before we wrap up?
No, every woman has the power inside, so let it out. Thank you so
Fantastic.
much.
Thank you so much. Talk soon. Have a great day.
You too.